Welcome to episode 13 of Friends and Film, a podcast where we talk about the latest movie news and theatrical releases. I'm your host, Cooper Hood at Coops_Hoops on Twitter, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Josh Straley at Straley Strong on Twitter. You can follow/subscribe to us to the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. We're everywhere now. We're growing, by simply searching Friends and Film. You'll find us on all of those platforms. Some of them it's Friends and Film totally spelled out, some it's Friends and Film using the and sign, so just mix and match. You'll find us either way no matter what you search. Josh, are you ready for this episode?
I am hyped for this episode, man. I was thinking about it on the way over here today, and I just can't wait to get into the meat of everything.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I have high hopes.
Oh, sweet, dude. I finished Daredevil the other day. Fantastic ending, and the way they put all the pieces into so many other possibilities for the next season. I loved it.
Yeah, I think the ending could have been done a little better, just tying all the plots together and answering some questions. But yeah, I definitely recommend going and watching Daredevil on Netflix. It's amazing.
Absolutely. The Punisher is, I hope he gets his own spinoff, like you said. That was awesome.
Yeah, we are not here, however, to talk about Daredevil, but we are going to talk about a big comic book property that dropped this weekend, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It's out in theaters. You can go watch it. Based on tracking, it looks like a lot of people are going to go see it this weekend. We did a preview episode, which you can watch. We did a Man of Steel review and preview last week, so we were ready to watch this movie. We have not talked at all about our thoughts on the movie, so I don't know. You might love it, I might hate it. I might love it, you might hate it. We have no idea how this is gonna happen.
I think it's probably gonna go. I'm expecting us to have a pretty differing opinion on this, but it's, like you said, it's out, and you don't have to hear any more news stories about us complaining, so we can finally get this review done.
Yeah, it's here. And now we're past BVS, and where it's all DC news from here on out. It's going on the future, unless it's about the R-rated cut and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But this week we have a couple of news stories to talk about before we get to the review. Some of them DC related, some of them not. So if you would like to stick around here to talk about that would be great. If not, skip ahead. In the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, there will be a pop-up. There will be a pop-up on your screen right now. You just got to click that, and you'll get past some trailer talk, some X-Men Apocalypse topics, and some DC future stuff that's happening in the world. But hopefully you will stick around and listen to us talk about this kind of stuff.
Please stay.
We are going to start by talking about some new trailers. As the year, we're getting more and more towards that summer season, so more and more trailers are dropping every single week. And this week we got 3 pretty big ones, with Huntsman: Winter's War getting a 3rd trailer, Deepwater Horizon getting their 1st trailer, and the Lego Batman movie also getting their 1st trailer almost a little less than a year before the movie gets released.
I was so sad to see the 2017 date on that. Oh my goodness.
I was ready, but what about the Huntsman: Winter's War trailer?
I'm not excited. I'm not really super into the whole Snow White and Huntsman movies, but Chris Hemsworth, Jessica Chastain, and Emily Blunt in this film are really great actors, and it looks like they're doing an awesome job. The trailer didn't really tell me more about the story other than Chris Hemsworth is going to have some fun with those dwarves and his really bad plan. Yeah. And that was all I took away. Yeah,
Chris Hemsworth does. I mean, he looks like he's playing Thor, basically. But instead of a hammer, he has an axe. Yeah. So
that's a good point.
It could. I kind of like the first one was enjoyable. Now this one's a prequel. It's kind of weird. Especially because they're bringing back Charlize Theron. Thankfully, Kristen Stewart's not coming back as like whatever character she was. I don't even remember.
Did she not do well in the first one?
She was okay. Her character was just kind of
one-dimensional.
Like without like spoiling the movie, it's just not what I wanted.
Okay.
From the story, but this new trailer, I mean, it looked fun. I think similar to what trailer we were talking about last week. I don't remember, but it looked like the plot was kind of all given away. Like, to me, it looks like a pretty foregone conclusion. I mean, especially since it is a prequel and that she's not in, that they're not in the that first Huntsman movie. I'm guessing Jessica Chastain definitely dies in the movie. I will be shocked if she makes it through. And that Huntsman and Charlize Theron are battling at the very end of the trailer is kind of weird because like they don't really know each other in the I guess the follow-up movie to this. So
does that mean that Emily Blunt's gonna die too then?
Probably.
Oh,
I don't know. It looks like in that final battle, as you know, Hemsworth is swinging around his axe and those weird gold / black, like, I don't know how to describe those thorn things that Charlize Theron's character is like projecting. He's hitting those, and look, I think she's on the ground. So maybe she's dead. Who knows what will happen? Did you like the Deepwater Horizon trailer?
Oh, yeah. This is one of 2 Mark Wahlberg movies that are coming out this year that I'm really excited for, the other being Patriots Day. But, like, who thinks to do a movie about the BP oil spill?
I have no idea.
Did you know that could be even made into a movie?
I would not have. That's not one. If I was a director or storyteller, I'd be like, yeah, we should do especially because it doesn't look like a drama. It looks kind of looked like there's a lot of suspense to this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And I just recently looked into it, and it turns out, I mean, yeah, there's actually a pretty good story there. The whole rescue attempts that's going to take place on the rig, so that could be pretty sweet, I thought.
Yeah, it's got a really good cast. Mark Wahlberg attached as the lead. Kurt Russell's in there. He's shown like for a little bit, and then Dylan O'Brien. Also, it's a bunch of other people as well, but. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to whenever it does come out. It
was a good unique story about something that we haven't really talked about since 2010. So,
no. But probably the best one that dropped this week was Lego Batman.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Were you a fan of the beatboxing Lego Batman?
Yes, It's Will Arnett's back voicing him, and I thought every scene with Batman in the Lego movie was great. That of course they had to spin him off and do his own thing. Yeah,
I mean, just like the opening right after like the beatbox, and then he's like, got this teaser for you, and then he mic drops, and then it goes to the actual trailer, and then just introing, it's like the studio that brought you Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. I was like, oh gosh. It was like Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Batman v Superman. It's like they're just highlighting that it's all Batman stuff, which is great. And then he's like, I'm home. And it just like echoes in the Batcave. It's just so big, and he's just so lonely. It's so good.
And then Siri's voice is the computer, and it comes on and starts talking to him and running through Siri phrases. Yeah, I thought that was classic.
Yeah, it just looked so good. And the first Lego movie is like one of like the best movies that come out I think it was 2014 is when it came out. One of the best movies of that year. It just got a great story. I'm looking forward to see how they, kind of take the Lego movie the first one, and how they make the Lego Batman movie in like relation to that.
Oh, totally. And then the last 15-20 seconds is him just waiting in front of like the microwave. Yeah.
It's like who hasn't done that where they're just waiting.
I know.
And when he accidentally hits 20 minutes instead of 2, and he's like, oh,
yes.
Not 20 minutes, you idiot. And he's like, I deserve this today.
even if it's not in the movie, it was just a great teaser.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would kind of prefer, or I'd be more in favor of that stuff. I mean, stuff was hilarious, but just to see like a whole bunch of just new footage in the actual movie would be great.
Totally.
This week also, we got some interesting comments from Zack Snyder in preparation for BVS, where he was defending the first DC movie he did, Man of Steel. That movie's got a lot of flack over the years because of how much destruction's in there. We talked about it a lot in our Man of Steel review, but he said that it shouldn't get that much criticism in comparison to Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
What? That's no. Okay. This is where I got really upset because if someone has a problem with your movie, you just tell them it's your movie and deal with it and move on. Don't invoke someone else's films to justify yours. And maybe he has a point. Yes, Star Wars blows up one planet, an entire Death Star with all their personnel, and then like a Hosnian system, which is like 5 planets total. So yeah, that's billions and billions of lives instead of one city. But it just felt petty for him to say, "Oh, well, look at that other movie," you know?
Yeah, it's like that's a movie called Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Wars have lots of casualties.
Yeah,
as a result of them being wars.
Sure.
So the destruction of 5 planets. Not like they could have stopped that at that time. They didn't know really what that Death Star was capable of. And they're like, "Oh crap!
Totally,
the Hosnian system's gone."
Right.
So like they're like, we could stop them, but we have to go take care of this thing over here instead.
And then there's another aspect too. Like you're trying to get us to believe that there's a planet Earth where superheroes can exist, and everything about that was totally an unrealistic superhero movie. Like all the destruction that he's trying to defend.
But it is more like relatable though, because it's set on Earth in like what is a fictional city, but it's more relatable to us than seeing an entire planet system that we have no emotional attachment to get destroyed.
Exactly. And he can make a point. He can make that point, and that's fine. But if you're just flat out say, "Hey, it was my movie," I don't think you needed to invoke Abrams' work with Episode 7.
No. It was definitely a weird comparison to make. But back to superhero movies. Another one that's coming out this year is X-Men Apocalypse. The third one by Fox in this alternate past timeline that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they released a bunch of new images throughout the week from Empire Magazine and other outlets. But there was one that I think is a bit revealing.
Yeah, you told me this, and I don't get it at all. I look at it and I'm like, it's just a photo. And then kept swiping, across Twitter. What's the spoilery thing?
So if this is all kind of speculation on my end, so if you don't care about my speculations and think I'm an idiot and you think I'm going to be wrong about this, keep going ahead and listening. But if you want to avoid possible spoilers for X-Men Apocalypse, you should probably skip ahead a little bit in time where we're talking about Wonder Woman. But here, the last spoiler warning right here. From here on out, I'm going to give my speculation on why I think this image, which you can see on YouTube. It's on, if you're watching on YouTube, or you're not, go to this time and it'll be on the screen. But basically, this photo is the entire, well, not the entire X-Men lineup, but it's a lot of them. It's Nightcrawler, Beast, Mystique, Professor X, Cyclops, Quicksilver, Jean Grey, which are all on one side of this battle against Apocalypse throughout the trailers. But then there's also Storm. And throughout all the promotion and everything we've learned about this movie, Storm is siding with Apocalypse.
Right, one of the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in this photo, why is she there?
Oh, dang.
But, Magneto's not there.
I was going to say.
Archangel's not there.
Yeah.
Psylocke's not there. It's all them, and they're not in their costumes that they're in when they fight Apocalypse. They're all in X-Men costumes. They all have more kind of classical costumes. Some of them have, it looks like, Cyclops has his visor. It looks like he has some yellow to his suit. So does Beast. Nightcrawler's has some red to it.
Well, yeah, you look at that. You're right. I did not see that before.
Yeah,
that means Olivia Munn's going to be evil?
Well, yeah,
well, I figured she was, but I thought like redemption or...
I was hopeful. But yeah, it is weird because it's like, we talked about this when we talked about the Apocalypse trailer last week, that, that shot of Mystique getting choked by Apocalypse, I said even though I think she should die to better the franchise moving forward, I don't think she will, just because it's Jennifer Lawrence and she's too big a name for Fox to let go at this point, even though I'm pretty sure her contract is up after this movie. But that trailer, it shows her in the same costume she's wearing, looking to be in the same location inside the danger room as that photo, where she says, "You're X-Men now." So I'm pretty confident that that is her at the very end of the movie saying, "You're X-Men now," to this whole lineup. And then from here on out, that's the X-Men team throughout the 90s to 2000s and presents that, they're going to play with moving forward.
I can't believe you got that from that image.
Yeah.
It makes all sense to me.
Yeah, it wasn't something that, it's not totally original. Like, I saw some thoughts online. It's like, they're in different costumes. And it's like, oh, but Storm's there. That's weird. Like, if it was everybody and Magneto was in there and stuff, I'd be like, I wouldn't care, because it's like, okay, this is obviously just a big group photo. But at the same time, they're all in different costumes. It's the classic X-Men lineup. I think that's the end of it.
Your logic seems infallible to me right now.
Yeah, so we'll see. Come the end of May, I could either look like a genius or look like a complete idiot.
Sherlock Holmes or Borat? No. Is that right? I have not even seen that movie.
Me neither. I have no desire to, especially after the Brother Grimsby got terrible reviews.
Yeah. Luckily, did you ever see The Dictator?
No.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah.
You're good.
But yeah, enough Borat talk. We're gonna go back to DC.
Here we go.
Talk about a new image for Wonder Woman dropped, courtesy of EW, that showed Wonder Woman as it looked to be, in the way way in the past. She's in all bronze costume. It looks really cool. And then she is joined by Lisa Loven-Kongsley as Melon Nippy. I don't know. I'm not good with my Greek or Norse gods or whatever this is.
Sounds good to me.
She's a lieutenant from the description that EW gave. And I'm doing this from left to right for those on YouTube.
Sure.
And then there's Gal Gadot in the middle in her new costume. And then there's Connie Nielsen as Queen Hippolyta. And then Robin Wright as General Antiope. Were you a fan?
I totally did not know Robin Wright was cast in this movie. And a huge fan of hers from House of Cards to... That's the only thing I know her from, actually. But to see her in that, and then the general role sounds pretty ominous. And if you look at her, she looks like she could
insane.
Rip you to shreds. Yeah. And if her character is even the slightest hint of evil, she is going to crush it in that role.
Yeah, she looked great in the role. And, just the whole look of that era of Wonder Woman, we'll talk about this when we get to our review, but I'm very excited for the Wonder Woman movie, especially with this look and previous looks. I'm looking forward to this movie, which I didn't know if I would be.
Mm-hmm. I am. Yeah, my excitement is. I think I've said that I'm ready to see that awesome 1940s era. I think that's gonna be sweet. But this gives excitement for if there's a prior era or there's it's an ongoing theme.
Yeah, so. Or if that's her origin as Prince Diana, if that's the present and that's just where she goes as the Amazonian princess, who knows what happens.
It's looking sweet.
Yeah. And then our last news story is Tyrese Gibson for the last year or so has been campaigning hard on social media and online to get the role of Jon Stewart, who is an iteration of Green Lantern. And he's confirmed that he's posted pictures before on set of Warner Brothers and fan art of him as the character. And then he had an interview recently on the Larry King Show where he's confirmed he has met with Warner Brothers about the role, but something I found funny was that his constant posting about it kind of irritated them and may have made them go in a different direction. We'll have to wait and see because they haven't announced the casting. But would you like to see him as one of the Green Lanterns moving forward in the DCEU?
I don't have anything against him at all. I've just have this image of Idris Elba being Jon Stewart in my head. And I've had it since I realized that there was a guy that looks like the Jon Stewart from all of the Justice League cartoon movies and television show. And I can't shake that. Do I think he could do a good job? Yeah, probably. He's an actor. He gets paid to do that. I'm sure he could get into character. But I can't shake his image in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and like in those movies, he's always just kind of like the comedic, like witty, random guy who just throws in random one-liners here and there. Like he's never been a great actor. I mean, besides the Fast and Furious franchise, there's a movie with him and a bunch of other people called Four Brothers.
Mark Wahlberg's in that. Yeah,
and he's okay, but that doesn't scream, oh yeah, make him a lead in the Green Lantern movie. Like Idris Elba, yeah, that would be an insanely cool choice. But
be the greatest superhero casting of all time.
Really?
Yes, I would.
Wow.
Robert Downey Jr. is a close first tie, maybe somewhere there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
Okay, that's
he would be up there.
Absolutely.
But I mean, his ties to Marvel could be a hindrance.
It's true. Top 5, would you say maybe?
I would have to really look at it,
okay.
But I mean, like, if we're going like full, like not just superheroes, we're going villains like included. Like Rob Downey Jr. is in that list. Heath Ledger's on that list. I think Chris Evans is on the list.
Mm-hmm. Heath. Okay. Yeah.
There's argument to be made
Christian
Bale, maybe even Ben Affleck as Batman, he could be on there. I mean, there's a lot of great casting choices that have gone on.
All right, I have to. Yeah, I need to recant.
But I do think he would be a good one.
Yes.
There's nobody else like that. I'm thinking like, who should play Jon Stewart that like immediately pops into my head.
Yeah.
But who knows? If they got it, I wouldn't hate it, but it wouldn't be like bring me a Green Lantern movie now.
Right.
Which I think is like somebody like Idris Elba or somebody like Idris Elba, which that's a hard comparison to make someone like Idris Elba because Idris Elba's one of a kind.
I don't know. He's just so smooth. I don't know. The man's awesome.
Yeah.
But speaking of Ben Affleck and his casting, is it time to move on to...
I think it's time.
Let's do this.
Yeah, so it's time for our review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This could be a long one.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about this movie. Both good and bad.
Yeah.
And yes, at least in my opinion, there is bad stuff about this movie. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I have a prepared statement to read.
Oh, you're like Patton Oswalt in Parks and Rec. You're just gonna stand there and give your speech.
I'm gonna say it and then let it float out there to you.
All right, go ahead.
Batman versus Superman. At the very core, was a fantastic battle of both the ideological and physical differences of the title characters, Batman and Superman. The movie contained everything I wanted to see from them battling it out. However, the 2.5-hour runtime was packed with seeds of the entire DC extended universe that led to scenes and moments that distracted from the drama that was supposed to be about Superman and Batman. This wasn't the movie that I thought I was getting back in 2013 when they announced it at Comic-Con. It was a really rocky film, but I think the future for the DC extended universe looks brighter than it did before I saw the movie. And that is the end of my statement.
That was good. That's like like a very short, like Rotten Tomatoes-esque review I could see on underneath the BVS.
I'm gonna go post that right now.
There's no system to like reviews, but I think that was like very well put.
Did you think? I mean, does that reflect what you thought, or?
Yeah, I think Batman v Superman definitely has these moments, whether they're short or long, where the movie is very enjoyable. I mean, Ben Affleck is an incredible choice to play Batman / Bruce Wayne. I mean, him as the older interpretation of the character, he's grittier, he's more violent, which we will, I'm sure, get to once we get into spoilers. But I thought he was great. Henry Cavill as Superman, I thought he did a good job with what he was given.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he was underutilized, I believe, in the movie to the extent where in the third act, things he does not have the impact that it should have. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman, as we talked about with the image before. Even though she doesn't have that big a role, what was shown of her, I really liked.
Scene stealer, I thought. I mean, anytime she was on frame, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you just did that? Oh, that was really cool. Anne Hathaway, Catwoman-esque, if I had to compare it to something else. Like,
I would say better.
Better? Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
I thought Anne Hathaway was a good in Dark Knight Rises, but I had problems with the choices that Nolan made with her character in terms of what she was doing.
Sure.
Especially near the very end of the movie.
Okay, yeah.
The other female lead, Lois Lane. Hate is a strong word.
Ooh.
But I was very much annoyed by her throughout the entirety of the movie, basically.
With Amy Adams acting, or more like how they wrote her character in?
More of the role she had in the movie. I think that she was involved too heavily in the movie, where there's points where I'm wondering, why is she involved at this point of the story, which we can get to later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have complained about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I thought he was okay. He was very quirky and weird, but I didn't mind it that much. He just didn't fit the insanely powerful supervillain that would, ultimately bring these heroes together. His plans weren't that well constructed. But I do think it did a good job setting up the conflict between Batman and Superman. There just wasn't the reasons that they eventually collide and eventually stop fighting.
Yeah.
Were not good. There are 10 better ways to have the fight happen and end than the way Zack Snyder chose.
Yeah, that's actually when we get to it, that's one of my big issues.
Yeah. And then my last point before I give my rating is the editing in this movie. Because of the amount of stuff Snyder tried to tell in the movie,
mm-hmm.
there are so many subplots.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning of the movie.
Definitely. Literally
right after the opening credits roll and we see Batman's origin, which was, visually there were some cool moments in there.
Yeah, it was really, I don't know, it was almost like poetic. It was just good.
It was very eerie, but right after that happens, and then we see the attack of Metropolis from Man of Steel from Bruce Wayne's perspective. There's 4 cuts to 4 completely different plots
mm-hmm.
playing forward in the movie. And when they try to eventually tie those together, there are pieces that are missed. And then there's points where they cut to one of those subplots where I was like, I don't care. get me back to what I'm here for. I'm here for Batman v Superman. Give me that. So that was ultimately probably my biggest problem, was that there wasn't enough of that in the movie. Do you have any other talking points? I'm sure you do.
No, you actually touched on when we get to, I think, what exactly I hated specifically, you touched on a lot of things there. Like you said, the flow is another one of the issues that I had. But no, you really covered actually a lot of what I've got going forward.
Now, for giving it a rating, this was a lot harder than I thought it would be because of the title.
Yeah.
Rating it as a Batman v Superman movie, I would give it a different rating than a Dawn of Justice movie, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense, because me and my dad went to go see it last night, and I told him that. I said there's two separate movies here, and I could give one a really great thing to say, and I could give the other a really bad thing to say.
Yeah. So overall, as the entirety of the movie that was given and presented, I'll give Batman v Superman a 3. I'll give it 3 cans of Granny's peach tea out of 5.
If you haven't seen the movie yet, you're not going to get the rating. But
yeah, and if you haven't seen it, even though I give it a 3, I would still recommend people seeing it if they are fans of these characters.
Definitely.
General movie audiences who aren't interested in these characters and probably the larger DC universe, I would probably say you won't enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
What about you?
All right. I'm unveiling today, Cooper, a whole new Joshua Rates Movies index thing here, okay?
Oh, okay.
I'm calling it the Josh Ski Index because I couldn't think of a better name. But it's rating acting, story, cinematography, and entertainment value.
Okay.
With entertainment value giving 20 points. I mean, that's a big deal to this whole thing, all right? So after adding up everything, I came out to a 32 out of 50, which is a 3.2 Granny's Peach Teas.
Okay.
And like you said before, like I think I said it before, so much is in this 2.5 hours that what you brought people to see, you don't get enough of. And what is shown around all of that is just boring and sometimes outright confusing, if you can catch my drift.
Yeah, there are definitely, I don't know if there are moments per se where I was bored with the movie, but there are plenty of moments where I rolled my eyes at what was happening, and oftentimes covered my face in disbelief that stuff was happening at a point in the movie where it was happening.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it.
Yeah, and it's hard to say what those are without getting into spoilers.
Totally.
And we've avoided spoilers for about 10 minutes. So
we're ready to
I think it's safe to just go full force moving forward. We're not gonna hold back on spoilers, and trust me, if you have not seen the movie, even though there's stuff shown in the trailers, I would recommend highly, if you are interested in seeing this movie, to stop listening now, go see it as soon as you can, and then come back and resume the episode where you left off. So, final warning, spoilers from here on out. Here we go.
Yep. How do you want to start this? With things we did right?
Sure.
I've got a little bit of a list here.
Okay.
Things I loved, full spoilers. All right. Lex Luthor. You didn't think you liked him a whole lot. I loved him. Number one, the 21st century take on him. He felt like an internet mogul type, Facebook entrepreneur, which he played once.
Yeah.
But he's playing basketball when you first meet him inside his office building, and it's just like, oh, hey, it's a pretty chill place. And his actions and his conversations with anyone throughout the movie were just so, I want to say poetic, but they were just so allegorical. How about that? Where you would not know what he's talking about until he'd finished his sentence, and then the character on screen would be like, what the heck does that mean? And then you'd have to explain it to him in simpler terms. I just thought that was really great. Didn't have a problem with it at all. Batman, Ben Affleck acting and the character they wrote for this Batman was perfect. He was just upset about everything. He felt like, your uncle who's like, the world's going to heck and I just gotta do everything I can to protect it type of a deal. I loved that feeling from him. The points of conflict between Batman and Superman were great. Batman was just like, I'm going to beat people up who are doing wrong. And Superman's like, I'm just going to save everybody. And that's where they kind of start to butt heads without Jesse Eisenberg being the master manipulator throughout it. I thought that was great, didn't you? Or did you not like his involvement with why they were fighting?
See, I'm just not sure if he was actually a master manipulator.
Really?
I mean, I know he is the ultimate reason why Superman and Batman have their fight, but the reasons building up to that, why they have such differing opinions, I mean, as long as they keep going down the path, I mean, whether or not the Senate is blown up where Superman's present, which was crazy.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Bruce Wayne already has that loss when we see what looks to be the Robin suit with, Joker's writing on it.
Yeah, the joke's on you, Batman.
Yeah, like Batman's lost a ton of people in his past, and Superman's lost a couple as well. I mean, he eliminated his entire race by the snap of a neck. He let his father die. I mean, these aren't easy things for him to deal with. So they would have had that conflict. And I think they made that conflict apparent in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when they eventually come together, it's not about, at least for Superman, it's not about those ideological differences. It's Superman going and saying, I guess I have to go fight Batman now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe I'll have to kill him. I don't know. It's just like, if you guys are going to fight, as the title says, Batman v Superman, I want it to be an ideological clash where it's similar. I mean, I don't even want to compare it to Marvel stuff, but there are examples in Marvel and their, recent, Daredevil season 2, upcoming Civil War, where it's these heroes are fighting because even though they have these same beliefs deep down of I'm here to save people, they have different ways of going about it, which cause friction between the other characters. So I think there could have been a better way where there's a better version of this movie where Batman and Superman are fighting because they are so unhappy with the way the other person's doing it instead of being set up basically to fight.
Okay, I can agree with that. But I thought they did a really good job in the early going before you realized who was pulling the strings, of making you think that, oh yeah, these guys are definitely destined to smash into each other.
Yeah.
I thought so.
It's just like when Superman, like that first conflict in the trailer where Superman rips the doors off of the Batmobile and Batman just stands up. You're like, oh crap,
it's going down.
Something's gonna happen. And nope. I was like, oh. He rips the doors and says, next time the bat symbol shines, don't come. The bat's dead. It's like, are you guys gonna fight?
Yeah.
Or I mean, it wouldn't be a fair fight,
right?
Which was what I was expecting. I was expecting Superman just to throw around Batman,
right,
and just be like, stop.
Yeah, but I think it comes from that place of mutual respect. And then obviously when you get to the battle, I think we'll talk about this maybe a little bit later. But
we can do it now.
Sure. Okay. The Batman always has a plan, and that was my biggest concern. It's like, is this just going to be them punching each other to death, or what's the deal here? The plan that Batman had set up, it wasn't as elaborate as I was hoping it would be, but it was still awesome to see him using the supersonic emitters to screw with Superman's senses. to buy him time. He set up Gatling guns to fire down at Superman, keeping him at bay while he recovered, and then utilizing the kryptonite that he ends up stealing from Lex Luthor about, probably midway through the movie.
Yeah.
Because he's just so bent on stopping Superman, which is I'll get to a little bit later. But I thought the battle was great in every aspect up until the very end of it where they stop fighting.
Yeah. I totally agree that Batman as a strategist, he killed it in like preparation for that battle where he was just waiting. He knew Superman was going to come one way or another, but when he arrives, Batman's not here and, hey, just listen to me. I don't want to fight you.
Mm-hmm.
And then hits him with the kryptonite. He's weakened. And that's when that blocked punch from the trailer is shown, which I was always wondering, is like, how does Batman build a suit strong enough to stop a punch from Superman? But then as the fight progresses and Batman's winning and Superman slowly regains his strength and then he starts beating up Batman, Batman's like, oh,
it stops working. He starts backing up, and he's just
he's like,
oh, snap.
He's like, I really got myself into a mess here.
But he goes through like 5 different walls after another punch.
But yeah, I mean, I thought the actual fight was great.
That was what I came to see, and that is where I felt like I got my money's worth.
Yeah, but the problem is it was short.
It was.
It happened one time, and the reasons behind it
weren't what I was wanting to be.
No.
Right. In the end, it takes an hour and 45 minutes to get to that scene. And then after that, it's just all doomsday.
Yeah.
But just to wrap up kind of my things I like real quick, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I knew you would like that.
Anytime you throw the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson in a movie, you are doing something right. They did a really skillful way of putting in and alluding to the other superheroes throughout the movie. I thought that was really good. They just did it on a file on a computer that that Lex Luthor's been looking at or keeping tabs on. So I thought, well, that's a really good way to just say, hey, there's other people out there, but we're not going to bring them into the movie, but you can see them and get an idea of what's up. And then finally, at the very end, Jesse Eisenberg teases the villain for the Justice League movie. And you don't catch it if you think he's crazy, but if you know what he's talking about, you realize that he says the beacon's been sent and people from other worlds know where Earth is and they're going to go claim it as their prize. And obviously a full-scale alien invasion on the entire planet requires a Justice League.
Yeah. On that note of the Justice League, I did like the look of them, like each of the individual characters. I liked how they looked, except for our very first look at Flash. That was very, very weird, and it took me a couple of seconds to realize, oh, that is Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the villain, I don't understand how Lex knows about Darkseid.
Well, because when he gets access to the ship, he steps down into that pool and the computer system says, we have knowledge of 8 different solar systems and worlds. Yeah. He's like, tell me it all, and puts his hand on it and does that. And I imagine if you're a crazed genius, not crazed, he's crazed.
Yeah.
Cray. Whatever. No. Okay, you're going to find and connect the dots, and he knows there's some being out there that's going to come smash the planet.
Does that happen? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But him gaining access to that machine comes after that meeting in his house with the senator, right?
No.
It comes before?
It comes before because
he makes the reference when he's talking to the senator about the painting. That's like one of the last shots of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that should be flipped upside down because we know the demons come from above, and that, but then so he does flip it, and then it looks like kind of like Darkseid and those parademons that are shown in the dream sequence. So yeah, if that comes after, then it makes a little sense. But it was at the time I was like, how does he know about Darkseid? And if Darkseid is such a threat, I mean, I don't know. Unless he's hunting Superman specifically,
Yeah.
it's hard to understand why he would come to Earth.
I imagine it had something to do with the idea that he created Doomsday and whatever Doomsday was doing with that energy field, like, because obviously you could see it on the planet when they did those Superman space shots. I imagine that maybe that did something, or maybe even Jesse Eisenberg with the Kryptonian vessel sent a message to him or something like that, I would think.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
It's cryptic, but I thought, I mean, they did say something about someone's coming. Something's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, yeah. Which makes, like, Batman's last line is like, why do you say they have to fight? They'll have to fight. Just a feeling I have.
Mhm.
It's like, okay. I talked about the Flash appearance
Yeah.
with his armored suit. He looked like Iron Man
He
a
looked
little
like
bit. And his face looked very CG, which was very weird. But that whole point in the movie, I was very taken out of the movie at that point, because I was like, why is Flash appearing seemingly from the future, running back in time in the middle of another dream?
That's where I freaked out on everything in the movie. I'm like, okay, well, Batman just woke up from his apocalyptic Superman rules the world dream, and now he's getting another dream, or he's seeing Flash in the future, who he hasn't met yet or doesn't know exists yet, is coming to him in a dream telling him, beware of the future, or what Lois Lane is what he specifically says.
Like,
and then he wakes up again.
Yeah, like that dream basically looks like it's Flash from the future showing a projection of the future where Lois dies, and then because of that, Superman turns evil and gets the help of Darkseid, where
looks like
Batman is basically a low-level street. I mean, he's still trying to be a hero, but Superman rules the world. So that it's Flash coming from the future, breaking like the time. I don't remember what it's called.
Space continuum.
Yeah, basically.
Time stream.
Yeah, he's going back in time and somehow appearing to him, warning him, make like Lois Lane's the key to this, which I hated. But like that whole sequence, I was like, it took me out of the movie for probably like 2 minutes, where I was like, oh, wait, what just happened? And at the same point, I'm watching the movie, and Bruce opens up the files of metahumans, and there's the rest of the Justice League lineup with their logos, their nicknames, and somehow Lex has found them before. And I'm like, oh, what?
Right.
Why?
I didn't think that was that bad of a thing. Just that I mean, he's an eccentric billionaire. Obviously, he's got different tastes. So if he's obsessed with Superman, he'd be obsessed with everything else that's happening. But having logos over top of them, I thought was a little bit like, oh, that's really Easter eggy, spoilery.
Yeah. And then, like, to take it a step further, like, I liked the look of the Wonder Woman picture that was shown, where he was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this girl's like super old, but she hasn't aged. I thought it was really cool. And then they had the shot from the Wonder Woman movie where Chris Pine's there, and the rest of like her group, basically. I liked that. But then when it comes to the end of the movie, before we actually see Wonder Woman in action, she gets the email from Bruce, and it's her opening up all the files, and that's how we meet the Justice League members. And I was like, this is lame.
You didn't think I mean, I thought it was better than having a cheesy ending where they all like zoom in together and be like, "We're here to save the day."
Yeah, that would have been worse.
Yeah.
But I thought just like having like the midst of battle, basically, because that's near the very end of Batman and Superman's fight.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe right before Doomsday breaks out, where it's like, oh, here's 3 other characters you guys are gonna meet in 2 movies. It's like, oh,
okay,
and it's like they were just quick, like 15-second glimpse at all of them.
Yeah,
which I didn't get, especially for Aquaman, because Aquaman, they announced that casting Momoa and said he was going to be in the movie as a cameo, but I was expecting way more than a literal cameo,
right?
Because even after he was cast, they released the photo of him with the staff with the Unite the Seven across it, and I was like, and it was a Batman v Superman like promotional poster. So it was like, oh, like he's going to be in this movie at some point. And it was like, oh, you're just in it for this. That's disappointing.
I guess,
but I did like the look of all of them.
Totally, I guess I get your point, because you've got a really great battle of Batman versus Superman. The reason I came to the movie, but no, time out. We need to go to Gal Gadot sitting at her computer, just looking through email. Like, oh, I get the disconnect, but I thought it was okay how they showed off the characters that we thought were going to be in the movie completely. So
yeah, but as she's doing that, that's the end of the only BVS fight in the movie.
Yep.
And the fact that it ends with Superman going, Martha.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. So
save my mom. Like, really?
Batman beats the crap out of Superman, has a kryptonite sharpened spear ready to plunge into his heart. And what stops him is Superman, like you just did, just coughing up the name Martha.
Yeah.
Who is Bruce's mom as well.
And he didn't even, like, when they announced this movie, they did the iconic line, I want you to remember the one man that beat you.
Yes.
And then I thought right after he sliced his cheek, he was going to do it. And then he goes, Martha. And I was like, what?
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because that launches me into I have 2 big, huge personal disappointments.
Go ahead. Go on your rant.
Okay. He didn't do the quote. The quote is everything to me, okay? This is 2 things here. Batman doesn't want Superman dead. He shouldn't want Superman dead, but in this movie, he wants Superman dead. And I just couldn't get over that. Batman's style is to not kill, ever, even though you can argue in this movie he actively leads to the death of at least 4 people with a grenade, but that's neither here or there.
No, we'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah. The comics make Batman taking on Superman about Batman's ego ultimately. And that's why he wants to do it, because he thinks Clark is way high on himself. He's too infallible in the public eye, and he just wants to show the world that, hey, Batman knows how to get things done too. Don't just call Superman all the time. And the quote is, I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. He didn't say it.
And he didn't even have his hand on his throat. He had his foot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess it's an expression.
It's nitpicky, but it's like, those are the kind of moments for Snyder, you have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you say that line and then the Martha thing comes, it would still be bad, but at least you'd have the iconic quote in actual movie history, because at no point moving forward will that ever have the chance to happen.
No. And I thought about it after it too. I'm like, you know what would be even better if they just did a Justice League movie and then ended the whole series with a Batman versus Superman. Like, that would be cool too. But you missed it. Like, it's so something dumb, like you said. It's nitpicky, but you announce the movie with this quote, the quote that's in all the comics, all the cartoon adaptions, and it's not there. And it just says so much to the whole. It says so much to Batman, and even Ben Affleck's character saying that would be perfect.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Is that just one of them?
My second this is a personal disappointment, not something he just hated about the movie. Jeremy Irons didn't do he didn't do much.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
He definitely did a lot less than I thought he was going to do.
I wanted some witty banter, but it was just like, I have to fix all your stuff, Batman. Gar, 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 gar. And that was it. And that's my impression of Alfred, by the way. But
yeah, like from the trailer, like we talked about, and I think I mentioned in the preview, I thought he would be a way more hands-on Alfred, but he was almost more hands-off than Michael Caine was.
Yeah, he didn't even offer sage advice.
Yeah, like I was like, oh man, that is disappointing. Because like I thought he would be like controlling stuff way more, or be giving Batman more strategical advice as it happened, and maybe that's in the R-rated cut that's coming.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to see that.
Definitely.
But it definitely there was a lot of of missed opportunities with Alfred, and I feel like I'm saying missed opportunities a lot, or at least stuff like that, because I think there is a version of this movie that is phenomenal.
I was just thinking too today. I was like, when this movie comes out, I'm gonna take the digital copy, find a way to drop it into iMovie, and cut myself up a movie where it's just Batman, Superman fighting each other out on like the way I can do it. That's probably copyright infringement. I'm not going to do that.
As long as you don't publish it, you can do it for personal, enjoyment. I think you'd be fine.
I agree with you 100%.
You did talk about Batman's killing,
and
it seems like you have a problem with it.
Yeah, Batman's one rule: he'll do anything else. He'll brand people, but gosh, it looks like he literally tosses people into harm's way, which is a grenade, and it's not like it was not like they were gonna survive it. So that one scene really took me out of one of the more fun parts of the movie.
Oh, there's way more than one scene.
Well,
I mean,
are you counting the apocalyptic world?
No.
Okay, there's one more. There's more.
The car chase, man.
Oh, where he grapple hooks the car.
He grapple hooks a car where I'm pretty sure the guy's already dead.
Yeah.
And he just drags it. And when he drags it, I was like, why on earth would he drag this? And then somehow he makes a perfect release where the car flips over and lands right on top of the other car filled with 2 or 3 guys, probably. Yeah. And then the very next point, right after that, pulls out his machine guns, mows down the car in front of him, runs through it as it's flipping over, and it just explodes.
Yeah.
Like, those 4 guys in there, all dead. I know for a fact.
That's true. I guess I wasn't thinking of the car chase. Yeah, that one scene definitely was like, no one can do that. I don't care if you're Batman.
Like, maybe, I was like, if there was like a computer monitor on like the inside the Batmobile that was telling him, like, release now, I would understand it, but I'm pretty sure that it wasn't. It's just like, oh, you're that good with your timing and physics that okay, if I release this now at this speed, the car will flip this amount of times and land perfectly at this point on the other car.
Dude, the Mythbusters couldn't get that done. They would put in a whole half hour that they prepared for television. There's no way you're doing it on the fly.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, even though, okay, when Batman goes and saves Martha, which is a terrible, plot point basically, where he's the one that saves Clark's mom instead of Clark himself.
Well, there's Doomsday to go deal with.
Not yet. That's happening before Doomsday's released.
That's true.
He's flying back to just go greet Lex. It's like, if you're gonna be late, like, you can get there way faster than Batman could.
That's true.
So that was weird. And at that point, that sequence that was shown in the 3rd trailer was amazing. It would have been more amazing if they hadn't shown it in the trailer.
Absolutely.
But I'm pretty sure he also kills a couple of people in that sequence too. He's snapping necks. He's throwing grenades.
Didn't see a neck snap.
I mean, at one point he grabs the dude's head and it looks like he slams it in the crate.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure his neck goes right on the corner.
He's a quadriplegic maybe at the end.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought he was going to snap Superman's neck when he picked him up like that. I thought that's where he was going, but you can't snap Superman's neck. So, but
yeah, he would heal, right? Superman heals from everything, which gets to
we'll get to that too.
And that was one of the biggest problems I had.
You mentioned flow of the movie, right?
Yeah.
It cuts to 1,000 different places and 1,000 different times. The Flash thing. And then something that Zack Snyder did in Superman, Man of Steel, was he presented really awesome ideas, but he does that throughout the movie with Eisenberg, Wayne, or Ben Affleck as Wayne, and Clark Kent. But since the movie just happens so fast into so many different areas, you don't ever get to think about them. So I thought that was something that was really disappointing too.
Yeah, which gets to why I hated Lois Lane's place in this movie is because at every single point in the movie, no matter what is happening, somehow she is connected through everything.
She's the key.
Yeah, and it was terrible. Like, in the midst of the Doomsday fight, she's running around. She grabs she grabs the kryptonite staff like she's gonna go kill Doomsday. I was like, no, go away. Why are you in this city at the first place? Why did you go there? Like, so many points I'm wondering, why is she doing this stuff?
Yeah.
I don't care about anything. Like, there's so many points where instead of having a point with Batman or Superman or even fleshing out Lex more, you're like, hey, here's Lois Lane investigating stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a really good point. At the end of the movie, she shows up to defend Clark in front of Bruce, and her being there, she picks up the spear, tosses it in the water, and then they send her out and send her back in to go swimming for it. And I felt like you went way out of your way to put her in like a distressful situation.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's like she was safe.
Yeah.
Like, Superman saved her from death, unfortunately.
Right.
When Lex pushes her off the top, he saves her, puts her on the ground. That's the end of it. Leave her there. Leave her in Metropolis where she is safe until Doomsday is released. No.
Yeah, I mean, she could have done... Amy Adams as Lois Lane could have done so many more things other than throw a spear in the water, go try to fish the spear out, almost die, freeze the battle with Doomsday, go have a heart-to-heart moment with them, who it's already been expressed that they already love each other, and then get back to the fight, then go back to that.
Yeah.
That was just really dumb, and I didn't think it did Lois Lane justice. I felt like she could have been doing something else.
And like the first half of the movie, it's all about she's investigating that bullet that was in the book, and how it's a experimental bullet that's not sold anywhere, and then she finds out that it's from
LexCorp.
Yeah, it's made by LexCorp, used by the LexCorp guys that killed Jimmy Olsen
right
at the beginning of the movie and almost could have killed her.
Right.
But then she goes down an escalator at like the subway or something, and the guy that is there at the very beginning of the movie with her is mopping the floor, and she walks up straight to him, knowing, I'm pretty sure she would know that he worked for LexCorp, was involved in the mass murder of an entire village, and walks up and says, hey, don't I know you? And then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
I was like,
I didn't have too much of a problem with it, just because like, oh, hey, maybe I know that guy. Oh, no, he's evil. But yeah, damsel in distress was used a little bit too much, I thought.
Yeah.
But it was clever of Lex Luthor to use her to, get at Superman. I thought that was actually somewhat clever story writing.
That was good, especially since he had the cat in the bag of his mom also. Even though I'm not sure how he knew that he was Clark Kent?
That's one of the last things I have in here that I hated was the idea that he figures this all out, but we don't know how he figured it out. And also, I don't know if he knew who Batman was. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And it's like, at what point does he know that Clark Kent is Superman? Does he know right at that moment? Or does he know early in the movie when he invites him to the party and he goes and he shakes, he's like, Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. And he shakes Clark Kent and he's like, ooh, I wouldn't want to pick a fight with that fella.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know at that point?
Right.
I don't think so. But who knows?
Exactly. It was just you need to, it's okay to not tell your audience things, but especially when someone like, well, actually, I'm sorry, this is just a mid-movie discovery. When he's on that ship, could he have figured out who Clark was?
When he's on the ship.
Asking the computer for knowledge? But see,
that's what I don't know. Because like he knows, he calls him Kal-El.
Right.
But that's only his name on Krypton. That's not his name on Earth.
Right.
So unless like there's like the registry or something where you sign into the ship, and maybe Clark, when he signed into the to the ship that he crash landed here on.
Totally.
Unless that somehow is connected to Zod's ship, then maybe.
Yeah, that's. See, I guess it goes back to maybe it doesn't justify the problem. We don't know. The audience is never told. It could be alluded to, but even digging into it here, we still don't know.
Yeah, it's like there's no speculative, rational reason that I can think of that states how he figures it out. Like when I did my complaint about Lex knowing who Darkseid is, your thought process makes sense to me. Like that is something that you can look at the movie and kind of connect the dots. Okay, he could know about him because of this.
After you think about it twice.
A lot, yeah. But there's no point where I can think, and maybe I need to see the movie again, where I could maybe pick up on something, but I at this moment I can't think of anything that would explain that.
I agree completely. Snyder did a great. The action in this movie was great, whether it was Superman fighting Batman or it was fighting Doomsday. But there was not. It was almost like it was such lightweight writing that they never stopped to think about, oh, are they going to actually get this? Like even one more screen of Lex Luthor seeing something or exclaiming, aha, could open up the door to him figuring out.
Definitely don't do that. Aha.
Okay, sorry. Whatever. Yeah.
That would have been very. I mean, it would have fit Lex's character in the movie, but I would have been like, that is so dumb.
Or have the computer say something. But there's just some things that would have taken 8 or 10 seconds to do that could fix so many things for the overarching narrative of the movie.
Yeah. Let's talk about the last, 30 minutes of the movie where Doomsday is unveiled in his fullest, and that's where we finally get to see Wonder Woman in action. She had a lot of very cool moments in that sequence.
Totally. Best part of the fight of Doomsday.
Yeah.
Especially where she just looks straight ahead at him, and then all of a sudden it's almost like a camera shift, but she jumps forward and you're surging forward with her, and then she just starts slashing him to pieces. It's incredible.
Yeah. But the trailer where it shows it does the line of, is she with you? I thought she was with you. Like that was a weird line in the trailer, and it was almost a little weirder in the movie because at that point Batman knows who she is.
Right.
And so then when Clark goes, is she with you? And he responds, no, I thought she was with you. It's like, you're the one that called her here, right? So unless you're thinking that they're connected somehow because they're both super powered, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Especially because Batman had her file, and he should have known by now
exactly.
that she's not connected with anybody.
Yeah. So that was very weird in the moment.
I didn't think about that.
But she was definitely very cool in the fight. Batman, however, kind of useless.
He's just like, I'll use this one round of kryptonite gas when I need it.
And yeah, like when he uses it, it works.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the time, it's just him dodging. And it's like, it made me wonder, it's like, how is he going to fight Darkseid?
Yeah.
How is he going to fight these other major overpowered DC villains?
How are any of them going to, going forward?
Well, I mean, Superman has basically any power imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman is insane.
Right.
I mean, Green Lantern can make anything he wants with his ring. Cyborg's a cybernetic being. Aquaman has his trident and super strength and everything, and Flash is his speed. It's like, but Batman just right. Batman. So unless he gets some like super alien tech suit, him going up against other threats is very weird. So I'm not sure how much he can do besides be like a strategist, because like he gets the comparisons a lot to like Iron Man because he's the billionaire, but he also gets like the Cap comparisons because they're both just normal guys.
Mm-hmm.
But Cap has super strength,
sure,
a shield. Batman's just got his strategy.
Yeah, he's got
which makes him a cool character. Totally. For sure.
It makes him like the grandpa, just like,
oh, yeah.
you guys get out there and do it, and then I'll come in at the very end and do one or two things that make me look totally awesome.
Yeah.
And it could have changed depending on which villain they're coming up against, because there's obviously villains in the future that won't be nearly invincible. But if it's Darkseid, obviously it's got to be Superman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman leading the charge.
I still did not like the look of Doomsday. I did like how he changed a couple of times at the fight.
Yeah, that was good.
And then them realizing, oh, we can't actually fight him because that just makes him stronger.
Right.
It was like, oh.
It was something kind of too. I mean, obviously the U.S. government was the people that nuked him, and that's when they realized, oh, we should not help.
Yeah.
Especially
we're making it worse.
Especially, it's like I'm pretty sure that's why they never nuke Godzilla, is because it's like, well, if that's what created him, we definitely shouldn't throw more of it at him. So, or no, Godzilla in Godzilla 2000 dies of a nuclear bomb, doesn't he?
I don't know.
Okay, well, anyway, but he definitely looked cooler after,
as he gets more spikes and more,
right.
He looks more and more like his actual version in the comics.
Definitely, he goes from being like just metamorphosized to being like crippled. So he just tries to eject all the broken mass in him, and that's what creates the spikes and everything else. So I just wish they wouldn't have shown him so early.
Yeah, or just didn't have him at all.
Yeah, that's true.
If it was an actual true Batman v Superman movie, if it was not a Dawn of Justice movie where the final fight is actually them fighting each other, then I think this movie gets a lot more praise and doesn't get like a 30% Rotten Tomatoes or whatever it has.
I have one line on here it's a redemption, it's an attempt at redemption for a lot of this movie, though. And do you think Snyder's original movie got corporate, had people come in and say, no, adapt this thing for the entire universe that we want to kick off?
No. I think Snyder, as a director, was just like, okay, because he is kind of the overseer of this universe. Mm-hmm. Even though maybe he shouldn't be, he is thinking, okay, how can I do this movie that fans want to see? They want to see a Batman Returns type movie. They want to see Doomsday. They want to see Wonder Woman. They want to see the Justice League sooner rather than later. So how can I do that? And then he basically combined 3 movies 3 or 4 movies into one. And one of those is like the very end of the movie, which never believed for a second. But I think that is like probably the biggest problem with this movie is it just does too much world building. It's not focused on Batman and Superman. There are parts of it that are, but there are plenty of other parts that are, hey, we have Wonder Woman coming out. Oh, hey, we have Justice League coming out. Oh, here's Cyborg, Aquaman, Flash. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie where you're thinking, oh, that makes me excited for this next movie. But in the moment, I want to get back to the actual story. I'm here and I paid to see.
Definitely. Especially if, let me throw something at you. Obviously I'm not paid to do this, and Zack Snyder
I wish.
Zack Snyder is a very accomplished director in all aspects. But I just wonder if this was an actual Batman versus Superman movie, if you made Batman's central arc for the first half about collecting his pieces for the battle for Superman, and Superman's arc is just the aftermath of Man of Steel and looking forward to his role on Earth. And then Lex Luthor is more of a looming character, pulling strings, but you don't know he's pulling strings. He's not as involved. And then the Batman versus Superman fight breaks out. And then by the end of that battle, with the quote being said, then you unleash Doomsday. And that's where they team up after already of understanding their differences and getting together, beat down Doomsday and pick up Lex Luthor.
See, I think this would have been like a better movie if it was treated more as a Man of Steel sequel instead of a, hey, we have all these other movies coming out type of thing, where it's the same political type movie that it is for the first half, where it's Superman dealing with the aftermath of the Battle of Metropolis and him, the destruction that he caused, and him, some people viewing him as a savior, some people viewing him as, the devil, like that kind of that religious confliction and stuff. And then as he's, dealing with, the courts and everything, like you said, there's Lex, doing things in the background, but there's also, he's hearing whispers of this Bat vigilante in Gotham, where Batman's basically portrayed as the villain throughout the movie villain. Because this movie, Superman is definitely the villain, like the quote unquote villain for the first half, where, you're on Batman's side from the get go, because you see the destruction, you see, his assistant, I think his name is Jack. You see him die. You see him like rescue people. You see him like look up to the skies and just with hatred, where he's like, I need to get rid of this guy. And that's what drives him to do all this stuff and get back in the game. And then the end of the movie, they eventually collide, and then it ends with the iconic line. Think of how great, an hour 45, 2-hour movie where it's Superman heavy for the first half, and then Batman starts coming in, and he's here, there, he's there, here and there throughout the first half, but he really gets his chance to shine in the second half, and it ends with that line, and then that's when the Lex deal happens, where he gets access to the ship, and Batman and Superman put aside their differences, like, okay, we understand each other.
Right.
We can work together moving forward if stuff like this happens again. And that plays much better into Justice League than the way this movie plays into Justice League.
Right.
So that's how I would have liked to see it done, where it is a Batman v Superman movie and not a, I don't even know. I mean, it's a quarter Batman v Superman. It's a quarter Dawn of Justice. The other half of this movie is
Man of Steel 2.
Is Lex Luthor setup. It's Wonder Woman prequel. It's a bunch of different stuff thrown together.
I I just have a hard time believing Snyder was like, you know what, let's smash it all together. But whatever happened, it was a hot mess, man.
Yeah.
That didn't get me my quote.
Exactly.
And seriously, I think that's the thing I'm most salty about.
What did you think of this is probably the biggest spoiler of the movie, I guess.
Okay.
The very end of the battle, it's Superman's death. Do you think that it was earned?
Earned. Well, I don't know if I think it was. Obviously, Superman dies like 1,000 times throughout the movie, or throughout his film debut. You think that he is dead and gone, and then obviously, oh no, actually Superman just got really weak, but now he can, regenerate himself and come back from the dead, or whatever the case is. So obviously, after they kill him, go through this grand scheme of his funeral, allude to the fact that Clark Kent's character is dead too in the Daily Planet, so his identity is gone. It just felt like an overkill ending.
Yeah, it was.
No pun intended.
And that's like one of the other stories where they tried to get in. They tried to fit the Death of Superman run into the last, 20 minutes of the movie, where it's not earned. I mean, they at no point in the movie do they make me really care about Superman.
No. Throughout
Man of Steel, throughout this, he's never portrayed as, the likable guy that we all should strive to be. He's a conflicted guy that doesn't know what he should be doing. And in the end of this movie, where he just all of a sudden has a change of heart, and he's like, yeah, if Doomsday's going to be defeated, I guess I got to die probably. It's just like, what?
Right. His death only matters to Amy Adams. And up to this point, you're either like you or annoyed with her, or you just don't care.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was no emotional pull in the movie where I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it, Superman. Don't go dying on me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care.
There's only one scene where you feel empathetic for him, and it's after the Senate bombing.
Yeah. He's just standing there in the flames.
And he's just about to cry, it looks like. And you're like, oh, poor dude. This is you show up, you're to play by their rules finally, and Lex Luthor gets to paint you as the bad guy the circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
And then obviously at the very end, so super spoiler, the dirt on Superman's cassock starts to raise up, and
which
he's not dead.
Yeah, and that just opens up a can of worms, because first off, there's everybody should be well aware to the fact that Superman can heal himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as that fight with Doomsday progresses, his scar on his cheek from Batman heals. He regains his strength after the kryptonite. It's like there's no reason to think that he should be dead. I mean, he survives a nuclear explosion in space where he can't breathe, I think. I don't know. He probably can breathe. I don't know. He has supersonic hearing and stuff, which I didn't know until he heard Lois pounding underneath. So him picking up the trident and saying, I love you, and then flying away, I was like, I don't care. And then once he gets stabbed, I was like, oh, wow, they just stabbed Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, but he's Superman. He's just gonna heal.
Just shrug it off.
Yeah, I was like, he'll be fine. And then when they played off as he's dead, I was sitting there, I was like, really? I was like, does anybody here think that he's actually dead?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, they're going with it. They're gonna play it out. They did the funeral. They showed the newspaper front page, Superman's dead. Back page, local newspaper guy died. how coincidental.
Right. Hey, does anyone think Superman looks like?
Yeah.
Nah.
Nah. There's no way. So that was just so weird. And then the fact that they don't even let you think. I mean, we all know that. I mean, if you've been following the news, you know that Henry Cavill's already said, he's like, yeah, I'm in Justice League. He's training for Justice League. So Superman's not dead. Like, he's coming back in some capacity at some point, some point in the future. And then for 10 minutes after he dies to know, nah, he's still alive. I was like,
right.
Oh, like, you don't leave me any mystery moving forward. The only mystery I'm thinking is, how does he fly out of that casket where people are about to bury him and then not know Clark Kent is Superman?
Right. With the two guys. So
Yeah.
he just waits till they finish.
But it doesn't look like he is.
Yeah. He's just like, I don't know. Like you said, yeah, it was sort of like an anticlimactic ending, or there's just no drama. There's no drama in it.
It felt so unneeded. There's no reason to have Superman die there because there's no payoff. The only thing that's going to happen out of it is, because if he does in fact fly off right at that moment, Batman and Wonder Woman are standing right there. So they're going to know, oh, hey, Superman's still alive. That's great.
Yeah.
The only repercussion is, more Lois Lane, because she's going to be like, oh my gosh, you're alive. We can get married just like you gave me the ring. Oh,
right.
Wait, we can't because Clark Kent is legally dead.
Right.
So how does that work?
Or, oh, hey, Clark Kent's alive.
Yeah. Oh, we found him.
Yeah.
2 weeks later. Whoops.
In the rubble. Yeah. Then the taxpayers get angry because they built a memorial for Superman. It's not true.
He's not actually dead.
So I guess that means that just Superman goes into hiding until he's needed for Justice League?
I mean, yeah. So, like, Justice League will come out a year and a half after BVS. So that's not a long time for movie fans to know that he's not dead, and for the people in the actual universe that inhabit that universe, for them to go, they'll see Suicide Squad take place, they'll see parts of Wonder Woman take place in the present day, and then when Justice League starts up, they'll see, oh hey, there's that Superman guy again. I guess he's not dead.
Do you think it's sort of like them trying to find a way to get rid of Superman for this next slate of movies?
But they'll only put him out of Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think he'd be in either of them.
Right, but it would explain why Superman can't go do the job that Suicide Squad's going to do.
It's because they want Suicide Squad to fail so that they can all be dead.
Right. But
so,
I mean, it's just
it'd be the same thing as wondering, I mean, with that thought process, going to see Suicide Squad, you're thinking, hey, how come Flash isn't there? How come Aquaman's not there? How come Batman? Right. How come all these other people? Like, I don't care about seeing these villains, which I do. I'm very much excited to see Suicide Squad.
Me too.
And we should probably move forward with that point, and because we are going very long on this podcast. So hopefully you guys don't mind, but there's a lot to talk about in this movie. We could probably go for another hour.
You probably will after we sign off.
Yeah. So we talked about the BVS part, but as a Dawn of Justice movie, did it do its job? We talked about this a little bit in our preview, where I said it would probably do a decent job setting up the future, but it could have done it in a better way. I still think that, but I am very excited for this slate moving forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's better than a 3 out of 5 that this movie was, because it won't have to do as much setup. But I'm looking forward to seeing Wonder Woman next year. Justice League, even though they're going to have to explain the resurrection of Superman, I'm excited to see that going forward. I'm excited to see Aquaman pop up. I thought it looked really cool. Same with Flash. Same with Cyborg. When they eventually cast a Green Lantern, I'll be excited for that. So it did that part of its job well, even though in the actual movie, I thought the points at which they were setting that up weren't the best.
Right.
I am excited to see these movies moving forward, and that's the best thing I can say about, what this movie did.
Yeah, and I said it right when we began this. The movie was it was a struggle to get through. It had its amazing points, though, but at the end of the day, I am I'm looking forward to the rest of this DC extended universe going forward.
Yeah.
It was like the pain before it gets better, or whatever that phrase, equivalent phrase to that.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the Batman solo movie. Like, bring that up as soon as possible,
please,
because Ben Affleck was by far the best part of this movie, and seeing a solo version of that where he gets to actually fight guys that he can actually fight,
totally,
and seeing the likes of we see Jared Leto's Joker come in or something, or we see the Riddler, or we see Mr. Penguin or Poison Ivy or whoever they want to bring into it.
Yeah, real quick, who do you want? Who's your villain for it? If you wanted someone who hasn't been done or someone a redo.
I would like to see. I mean, it's hard to say without seeing Suicide Squad yet.
Sure,
but there was a rumor of Deadshot being in there.
Yeah.
So seeing Will Smith and Ben Affleck on screen together for an entire movie.
Totally.
Whether I would be afraid that he wouldn't be a full villain. So it would have to be something where they fight. It would be like BVS kind of where they fight for a little bit and then they team up again. For the actual villain, I don't know. I don't want them to do Joker right away because there would be those obvious comparisons to Dark Knight because it is a darker, grittier movie.
Right.
And you have Batman versus Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I'd like to see a new villain. I don't know who.
Sure.
Do you have anybody?
Yeah, I thought Doctor Strange right off the top.
Doc Strange, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just think that with the big emphasis they're placing on Kryptonian stuff, I thought mad scientists are a really good way to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, or you just stick with Lex. I mean, break him out of prison and get him to be a more powerful, villain.
Or take the plot of the Arkham Knight video game, which brought back Jason Todd, and do the.
There's a lot of people think they'll do the Red Hood storyline.
Thank you. I was losing that, and I was buying time until I thought.
No problem. So yeah, that's the best thing we can say about this movie. It might be a. Did you ever give it a rating? Yeah, you give it a 3.2. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we're about the same, which. We're pretty consistent, I think. We normally have similar thoughts.
Yeah, I thought you'd go lower. I don't know why.
No, a lot of my friends, a lot of other people I know are going higher. So I saw it with 4 other people, and 2 of them gave it 4 stars. One of them saw it. That was when I saw it with him. That was his 3rd time in a row that he saw it, which I was insane. Yeah.
Did the guy at least go eat beforehand or something?
I have no idea. He saw like the 6th, the 9:30, and then the 1 a.m. showing that we went to. It was crazy. I could not have done that. I think my mind would have exploded because I would have been. There's still so many unanswered questions.
Definitely.
But hopefully those get answered moving forward. We're gonna cut it short now. Finally,
cut it short
after an hour and a half, an hour-long review, strictly review. We went an hour.
Yeah.
So very quickly, during our time away, be sure to tell us your thoughts on everything we covered by tweeting us at Friends in Film. We will receive updates on the podcast, movie news, and more. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Coops_Hoops.
You can follow me on Twitter at Straley Strong on Twitter.
And if you're listening to this on YouTube, SoundCloud, or iTunes, please subscribe, like, share, give us a thumbs up. And if you like what you heard, please be kind and give us a review on iTunes specifically. So we will be able to reach more people. We're doing a giveaway currently. So if you go give us a review, you'll be entered to win a copy of Captain America: The First Avenger on DVD. We have 1 entry so far. So unless nobody else gets it, Landry Gonwick, you're going to be the winner by default.
Sweet.
So if you're interested in that, you want to give him some at least competition, go and do that right now. And thanks again for tuning in to the Friends of Film podcast. Josh, any final words?
Go see Batman vs. Superman if you haven't already, and then let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, and be sure to tell us your thoughts on anything that we covered. The movie. Hit us up with questions. We would love to answer them on the podcast or on Twitter, whichever way you prefer. We are not sure if we'll be back next week because there's a dead spot in the schedule where there's not really any movies coming out. So. Maybe if it's a heavy news week, we'll come back, or we'll think of a classic movie to review. Something. If you guys have suggestions for what you want to hear, let's talk about. Send it our way on Twitter to either the Friends of Film account or either of us personally. Either way, Thanks again for listening, and be sure to watch some new movies before we return, hopefully next week, but if not, we'll return in 2 weeks, hopefully as long as Demolition gets a wide release. See you guys later.